Wondering. And that's it. We'll introduce our first speaker of the hour, Erlend Andreas Gjære.
Thank you, Ryan. Great to be here. All right. So I'm here to talk about application security. How many developers are here today? Oh, that's a lot. How many are doing testing? Anyone specifying requirements? Yeah, so it looks like I got something for almost all of you. Because application security is a concern to many of us. And that's why OWASP has actually a standard for application security. Isn't that OWASP top 10, you say? Well, I'll go into why we're talking about ASVS today and not top 10. First of all, I'm just going to give you a little bit of context, because I am working with security and people, but not as a consultant. I'm a founder, and I'm a founder of a software company. I'm not going to do advertising, just to give you context, because we do software development. And that's why we also use ASVS. So just since not all of you probably know who we are, we're a startup in Trondheim, here in Norway, and we help people with suspicious emails. And just like Google, we have a button that you can click, in this case, to get help with your suspicion. And find out, is this a dangerous email or not, even though all the spam filters and machine learning didn't catch it. So we use natural intelligence and and then some gamification to make it fun. Okay, so it's a cloud service. We obviously need to take security very seriously, right? Because a breach for us would be very damaging. But there's also another reason why we do something structured with application security, and that's because we're a startup. And if large corporations are going to buy our stuff, well, they need to have some confidence in us. So our purchasers are actually security people as well. So they are likely to ask, so what do you do about security? ASVS helps us with that. I forgot to skip the slide, sorry. ASVS is a tool developed for architects, developers, testers, security professionals, tool vendors, customers, to define, build, and verify secure applications. It's a baseline, it's a checklist, it's a testing framework, it's many things, and that's why it's something probably for most of you. OWASP top 10 then, what's that? Well, that's a lot about awareness. We have these big major issues like putting these JavaScript things into input forms. SQL injections we heard already. Major problem, been there all the time in the top. Create awareness about these big issues. But it doesn't solve all the problems for you, because these are complex issues. And in order to produce secure software, we have need to do it right and usually not reinventing the wheel all the time. So where OWASP top 10 gives you, for instance, on broken authentication, some advice to check how your application can be tested. Is it vulnerable? And then how to prevent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points on a page. How to avoid broken authentication. Looks simple. That's not the whole picture, but it helps you to get started. It's really good for awareness, but it's not the complete picture. So that's why ASVS, as a standard, the authors themselves write in the foreword, it helps you to step up to an actual security standard. So what is ASVS? Well, it's a lot of requirements. And these are verifiable requirements. And that's why they all begin with verify ... something. And I'll jump into the various parts here. Here's the requirement. Here is a number, so you can refer to it. 111, this is the first one. Verify the use of a secure software development lifecycle that addresses security in all stages of development. Simple. This is one of the bigger requirements that requires a bit of work, but it's also a good entry point for working with secure software, that you actually make it the job of all the people involved in development. Then we have these levels here, and this is actually, it's not applicable to level 1, but level 2 and 3. Level 1 is the level of your application risk as you consider it, where actually level 1 represents requirements that everyone on the internet must really do. So if you want to create a secure application, do all the level 1 requirements. It should be pretty good, actually. That's all you need to know. As we will see, there are many requirements to that, but do the level 1 and you're good for many parts. Not all have this. Maybe they have one security guru who actually is doing very much work, and it helps a lot. But level 2 is should. Everyone should. Level 3 is high critical applications. A lot of financial data, medical data, nuclear power plants, stuff like that. So we see must, should, and high assurance. Choose your risk level and do the math. And then we have these categories. It all shows you the whole application development lifecycle. Main point, 286 verification requirements. That's a lot of requirements. It would be a lot of requirements to figure out yourself. So it's a good thing that somebody did it for you. Is this the truth? Well, it's a good place to start. It's not the whole picture either. There are several parts of your application development lifecycle you need to impact to resolve these requirements. Your architecture, your coding, how you do code review, DevSecOps, how you do pen testing, static analysis testing, etc. ASVS is a PDF and a CSV. It's on the OWASP web pages, but here is the PDF where you see passwords. I chose passwords. It's a section everyone can relate to. Requirements. As we see, it's based on NIST 863B, which is the famous standard that says that passwords should not be replaced periodically, for instance. So it's really up to date, and it's building on other standards as well. So it's not just something OWASP people have been figured out themselves. And here you see the first requirement: verify that user set passwords are at least 12 characters in length. Here is a choice made on the length, but it is actually based on something, and you can read about that in the standard, etc. Number 2, verify that passwords 64 characters or longer are permitted. Who can remember those long passwords? Password managers, right? So this is a good help for you to think about the things that you need to think about, but you don't have to come up with everything yourself. As you can see, both of these apply to all applications, regardless of risk level. But instead of having a PDF, I mean, it's a bit tedious to just read and kind of circle around, and it's on paper and stuff. So for our own internal development, we use an Excel spreadsheet, built a system for it. It looked like this. A bit noisy, sorry about that, but it's a spreadsheet. And what we did was just take all the requirements. You see, verify, 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 and section it. Then we have also imported the levels. And then we have a column here, selected. Some are yes, and some are actually no. And that's our choice to make. ASVS is not the truth. You can challenge stuff, if you have good reasons for it. And I'm going to dive into a couple of those. We also have a maturity columns here, and we have a risk column. These are not part of ASVS, it's just a tool that we use. So, first of all, verify users can change their password. Okay, we have that in our application. Why do you need that? Well, some might have a password breach. Not your application, but they reused their password, maybe. So it's easy to select and verify. Just test it. Can I change my password? Yes. Done. Good. This is where we see ASVS versus top 10. Top 10 had 8 bullet points for authentication. ASVS has 57 requirements for authentication, plus 20 more for session handling. So that's the whole picture, at least compared to top 10. One reason also why I'm talking about ASVS now is there is a new ASVS version 4 that came this spring, actually. And that also has undergone a major change. So before it was only 26 authentication requirements. So it increased massively because of alignment with the NIST standard, for instance. So it's a massive work. So if you've been using it, trying it before, have a look again, because some things may look different and better. So the question, are these level 1 requirements mandatory? As I said, well, we have said no to something. For instance, verify that password change functionality requires the user's current and new password. No, we don't require that. Why do we not do that? Well, currently, since we're a startup, we cannot implement everything from the get-go. So instead of having this kind of your profile here, you can change your password, etc. We just tell people to, okay, if you want to change it, use the forgot password feature, and you get the token sent to you to reset. We're not complying with this requirement, but still the intention is fulfilled, at least from our point of view in terms of risk. And so we comment that, and it's a no. So is everything yes and no? That's also a good question. Do we have it or do we not? Verify that. Well, that's a simple yes-no. Maybe. Well, we all know, yeah, I know we do that. Have you checked it? Nah, not really. I just expect it to be like that. Something in between, that makes sense. Yeah, we have a ticket for developing it, but we haven't done it. Should we say yes? Should we say no? So that's why we use maturity instead. And this is to align with our information security management system also, where we do these current and target maturity levels. And we have also specified, I'll show in the next slide, what does these numbers mean? For instance, verify that Unicode characters are permitted in passwords. People actually want to use emojis as their password. Think about that. Well, it's a good thing. Yeah, we haven't done anything that I think should make this impossible for users. We have multi-byte characters. We use standard hashing that should support it. I haven't tested it. So it's a 3. But it could be a 4 if I test it, and it could be a 5 if I can automate the testing. So I say, yeah, I want to be at a 5. It's not a big work to do. So I see, okay, we set target to 5. We have 2 as a residual risk. It's not part of ASVS, but it's just how we do it. It's not the truth either, but maybe it can help you. So here's our table. Non-existing mean we have chosen not to do it. This is where we say selected no. We don't believe this is a problem. 1, initial, yeah, we're aware that OWASP ASVS says this is necessary. I don't know if, yeah, we don't have an implementation. We haven't considered it properly. Number 2, it's managed. Yeah, we have an implementation. but it may be omitted if it's to be done repeatedly. So it may be in one part of the application, but not in other, depending on the developer, etc. 3 defined, we have a standardized way of doing it. All developers are trained and aware. 4, it can be verified, tested. Maybe it has been tested properly. And 5, optimized, it's doing automatically. So, talking about numbers, what is our application risk? What is it? 41. No, it's 380, at least the 5th of May. Out of 1,059. How do we get there? Well, you see we have these numbers here. So if we add up all the target numbers, that's the grand total of where we want to be. And if we are at our target level, and we can defend that target level as that's a secure level for us, our risk profile, okay, then we have a secure application. And then all the remainders, that's where we have a residual risk here. Does it mean we're vulnerable? There are very few omissions from the 280 requirements that we're not doing, and we should be doing, where we're not doing at all, because that's a vulnerability. But there are a handful that we will fix, of course. But it's all about maturity level, because it may be enter the application later if multiple developers are doing mistakes all over. So what's the risk? Well, it may be red, yellow, and green. If we use like a traditional matrix, if we are on this 3.8 out of 1,059, we have a 35% risk. Well, that may be green. But point is to show there is some development. We have some remaining things to do. Our target is 0, because that's the target we have set. So I have 3 minutes left. Must all 286 be considered? Well, there are 14 categories. You may want to just do the authentication stuff. Maybe you're buying an application, you want to test, do they actually care about the application security? Well, you don't want to test all 286. Do you want to ask them for their ASVS spreadsheet? Maybe they don't have any. Well, go ahead and test one category, maybe. That will give you an impression of where they are. Because point is, these things can be tested. All level 1 requirements can be tested black box. Level 2 and 3 may or could require hybrid reviews where you need access to source code, developers, documentation, etc. So just a couple more examples where verify that users have a method to remove or export their data on demand. This is from the data protection section. GDPR compliance. That's also part of it. Verify that secure TLS is used for all client connectivity and does not fall back to insecure and encrypted protocols. Easy to test. Do SSL labs scan, for instance. Should be in place for all applications. Verify the application never reveals sessions or tokens URL parameters. Session management, easy to detect if you do some basic testing. Verify that compressed files are checked for zip bumps. Small input files that will decompress into huge files, thus exhausting file storage. Limits. Ooh. Did you think about that in your application? Recursive zip files. Well, level 2 requirement. Multi-factor. Verify that random numbers are created with proper entropy, even when application is under heavy load. Ooh, that's high level. That's high assurance. You don't need to have it. Can it be automated? Yes, almost half of them can be automated. I don't know how, but I know how some of them can be automated. You may require access to business logic flaws. That's the hybrid testing part. Output from our spreadsheet is put into Gjære. We have tickets for following up where we have gaps. So that's one way of just putting it into our workflow. And then when you complete this, update table item 214 when completed. Okay, move on. So, to sum up, here's what you can use ASVS for. A lot of things. Use it as your architecture guide, replace all your off-the-shelf or custom-made secure coding checklists. Use it as a guide for automated unit and integration testing, for development training. Take one part and train on that. As a driver for agile application security or as a framework for buying software. Point is, do not reinvent the wheel. People have been doing really great work to make it easier for you. So mix and match and build secure software. I'll be around, so ask me if you want to know anything else. Thank you.